If you've been following modern games being released for the Sega Genesis or Megadrive, chances are you've heard of ZPF, a SHMUP being developed for the system from the coder who created Tanzer, but this time with a new team helping out, including Gryzor, who created the concept and level design, as well as JG Vex, responsible for the game's soundtrack. I got to sit down with both of them and ask them about their upcoming game. And they also sent me a prototype of their game, so any footage you see here will be from that prototype. Well, first off, can you introduce yourselves? Who are you and what is your work with ZPF?
Yeah, I'm Gryzor. I'm the original creator, artist, general design, most everything, but for this particular one it's a little back and forth because I'm not doing it all myself, so all my stuff is from my old Game Maker project, and back when I could just, do everything. But with this, it's like, there's a lot of limitations involved, so I have to get feedback from him and know how to reduce everything, and then we have to put it in and then see if the idea I had it works, and if he has a better idea, then we can try that. But generally I'm the creator, whatever.
I am JG Vex, but also Jamie Vance. I've kind of botched that whole situation with using a handle or not because because Retro Gamer Boy on YouTube, who made this excellent hype video about ZPF, he very respectfully called me by my full name throughout the whole thing. So that's probably the most notable video that's been out there about that. So I'm having an identity crisis at this point about whether to go by my handle or my name. So I'll just say it's both. I'm the composer of the tunes for ZPF. Also sound designer.
Voices.
Oh yes, it's been a little while. Yeah, voice actor, whatever. Doing voices for the bosses. Very professional. Not really. There's little clips we've put out of the skeleton ship boss, and with this huge beating heart sort of thing in the middle, a really incredible, just gnarly thing. So that was one of the first things I recorded some voices for, and it's just all demonic, big, kind of shit. So yeah, and do some sound design stuff as well, but of game sound effects and everything with bombs shooting, enemy deaths, things like that. Gryzor always has a really good feel for that stuff. So I think I'm just trying to make that stuff a little bit better. He had a pretty good groundwork already done with that.
Yeah, the first time I've actually used a separate person for sound. I just pull stock stuff, and then I'll tweak it in on just add Audacity and layer parts or trim parts. I just make do with what I can find. But he was those are the first chances. I was I can come in here, I can really make things better. So okay.
So what does ZPF stand for?
As always, I have these sort of temporary titles. I'm not very good at making game titles, and I'm always hey, if you guys can come up with a better name, please throw it out there. And it no one ever does, except for when I work with NG Dev. He always has something lined up. I'm yeah, we'll go with that. I was trying to make one sort of Thunder Force style, so it was a fast-paced horizontal shooter. And just the first thing that comes to mind is ZP, sort of zippy, fast. Just because I need something to throw on, because I like to build these little funky title screens, which was even for that scene was kind of unique, is building title screens. So I made that. Then when I started with Game Maker, I reused a lot of the same enemy concepts and stuff, and that became ZP Ultra. Of course, never finished it. And then I reused some of those ideas again for ZPF, because it was just building on the same thing. So the idea was ZP Fantasy, and it just became a little sub-series title. I just used it, and again, because no one gave me a better title, so we just stuck with it.
Why make a game for the Sega Genesis in 2021?
I like the Genesis. I was pretty obsessed with stuff like Twin Cobra and Fire Shark and Truxton and obviously Thunder Force 4. I was obsessed with those for a long time. If I were doing the coding myself, it wouldn't be my first choice because obvious limitations involved. But Mix had done Tanzer, which is incredible. Yes, just the fact that he could finish the damn thing was like just amazing, and it's just so fast and fluid. And like I think one day on Twitter I just offered as like, hey, I can just send you these old sprite sheets if you want to play around with them, because he was making, I think he was starting one called Mega Wing, which I believe he's still working on. But I gave him some sprite sheets, and then like he was like, oh yeah, I'll go in and I'll like reduce the color, like the palette depth and all that stuff. I'll shrink it down to like so it fits like 8x8 tile size and all this stuff. And by the time I did all that, it's just like we just kind of got going on it, and that was 2019. So, and we just kind of kept building on that and getting more and more stuff converted. And like eventually I ran out of material from the old Game Maker project and started making new stuff. And like for a while now, it's just been new stuff.
Is it me, or is this game heavily inspired by Lords of Thunder for the TurboGrafx CD and Sega CD?
That was around the time when they were putting bunch of stuff on like the Wii Virtual Console. I was just like, I was pretty obsessed with Lords of Thunder, both that and Gate of Thunder. I never had the systems growing up, but I had the disc, like a disc copy I'd gotten off eBay, and I'm like Magic Engine, and it was just, I was like easily one of my like all-time favorite shmups. I just love this. I love the style. I love the music. I love the shop system, even though like shop systems are kind of like a dirty, it's like all these like taboos for shmups. It's like things you can't have, but like it's one of the best. It's like everything Compile made. They pretty much broke every rule. Like it's like, you can't have shop systems. You can't have RPG mechanics. You can't have like a completely different style. You can't have hit points. They have all of them, and they like just perfect. Yeah, I'm specifically was aiming for Lords of Thunder because I love that game.
What about the art style? You seem to be going with a very bright color design choice.
I just love neon colors. I like really just bright. Any excuse I can have to squeeze more colors in, into like a color gradation is like I always do it. It's just how I like to do things, anyways. And it's because there's another version we're working on where it's like we don't have the same limitations in place. It's weird because there's less limitations, but he'll be like, can we tone down? We like not make it not so colorful. It's bizarre. I mean, yeah, that's just something I like to do, is just to make the thing as colorful as possible.
Was the audio created using DefloMask?
Yes, I used DefloMask, which is a super rad tracker. I was intimidated by it at first, but that was mainly because I was just intimidated by trackers still. A while ago, Greiser and I worked on this thing together for my brother, who is an actual dentist. And we were trying to come up with some marketing stuff for his practice. And so we had this idea of like, because my brother's a huge gaming nerd as well, and we grew up playing Nintendo together and everything like that. So Bionic Commando and Contra were some of our most deeply cherished games that we had. And so we had this funny idea. I think Greiser came up with the name for it, I believe, you probably came up with the whole fucking concept for all I know.
It's probably Mark. Mark's good at names. So.
Yeah, he is. Cavity Destroyer is the name we came up with, and so it's like a Contra game that has like a dentist that's like my brother running through blowing up cavities and stuff, and then you fight a boss that's the Decay Lord. It's like a giant abscess. So the idea was to make that the commercial for his practice, and just a very unconventional, just like a commercial comes on TV and it's a super quick playthrough of this Contra sort of level with some jokes peppered in, and at the end of it it's like, don't let cavities get the best of you, call the Cavity Destroyer at Advanced Dental, and it was going to have like his real phone number on there. And so we did all that. It's like the most wildly excessive marketing campaign ever made somehow. And just in terms of is the most impractically inefficient or like uneconomical. Instead of animating it in After Effects or something, let's just code the game, because that was easier for Greiser. And I didn't have the animation skills to make that happen at the time, particularly not in a way that looked legit. And so we actually made it. It was actually like the thing in the video is a screen recording of us playing it. So when we made that, you can tell that we go overboard with things constantly, and we are, a lot of it's about the feeling, and like the texture and the texture and metaphorically, just like the vibe and the feel and the crunchiness of something feeling true to the nostalgia. That means a lot to us, as it does to many people, I think. And so
Was
was
that Family Tracker?
Yes.
Was that Family Tracker?
Yes. Yeah, I tried to make the music for it, which I was so psyched about to get to do, because God, me and my brother we always have this special place in our heart for the music from those games, of course. And there's a particular song from Bionic Commando that was like one of the reasons that I wanted to learn how to make music, that I heard when I was probably like 5 or 6 years old. When I went to make the music for it, I've made electronic music and stuff basically since I was a teenager, around the time I met Greiser. And so I tried to fake it basically by using things like, which this is a badass plugin for things like this if you don't want to use a tracker, called Chip Sounds by the company Plogue. It's a very true to form thing, and is made by proper like nerds who really care about all that. And so it sounds awesome, but there's so many specific things about how that music sounds due to the very strict and harsh limitations that if you're just like a typical kind of electronic music composer slash, like music maker type of dude like me, you really have to go experience it to really tap into that true sound. Because all the stuff I made that was faking it sounded cool, but it was still too fancy in the wrong ways, which made it kind of boring and not give you that hit of nostalgia you really wanted. And so that was a very quick, like super immersive lesson in the fact that, geez, trying to fake this sound is a huge pain in the ass and it often fails. So I might as well just get over my resistance to trackers, and I might as well just dive in and like learn how to do this. And so,
does the game use both of the Mega Drive sound chips?
The kind of default, I don't know if that would be considered default, but I've come to think of it that way. That's like the default way of using the sound chip is like, it's normally 6 channels of FM synthesis, and then 4 PSG channels. And then one of those FM channels, you can use a command to turn it into an audio sampler channel. So you end up with basically 5. And there's other ways you can use it and everything, but those 4 PSG channels are kind of always there, and I'm always using them in every song. So yeah, I suppose that would have been a simpler way to answer that, was yes. I never thought of it as, I had forgotten really that that's like considered a separate chip.
Ah, yes, it's a separate chip, and in fact, the vast majority of Sega Genesis games released back in the day did not use the PSG sound chip at all. I believe it was because, more often than not, they did not have the tools for it.
I can tell that not everyone likes it, like the hardcore purist FM people, like there's maybe, I've had like a handful of people on videos or SoundCloud things or whatever. There's like, a bit too heavy on the PSG there. Like, and so.
Oh, actually, Sega fans usually love when both sound chips are used, as it means that the system's sound capabilities are being used to their full potential.
I'm really glad to hear that, because, yeah, it really is about using it to its maximum. Not to mention, and if there, but just side note, like I may seem ignorant about some things, like I may seem respective to y'all, especially comparative to y'all, I may seem like ignorant about the Genesis, is because as much as a sacrilege as it may seem, I was never lucky enough to get around one when I was a kid, and so yeah, and so like I really love it. I've gone through lots of things like this recently. It's like me discovering some huge treasure chest of amazing shit that's has all this available, accessible nostalgia that I love to feel, and I can totally get into basically all of it, the entire backlog of something, and I'm an adult now, and so it's like I'm a little kid getting to experience it. So it's been really fun to gorge myself on like the coolness of the Sega Genesis and all of its capabilities, and like get to just totally saturate myself in it. So that's why I may be like clunky with certain facts, but I felt like it was using it to its maximum because so often it provided the perfect balance to me between, since I didn't play a Genesis when I was a kid, that's why I told that story. Since I didn't play that, I wasn't as accustomed to the gnarly sound of FM synthesis stuff.
Tell me about the game's lore. It looks like a mix of fantasy and sci-fi.
Originally, when I made it, it was, like I said, I was playing a lot of Lords of Thunder, so I created like a stage with all these fantasy elements, and I really wanted a character like in that game, so I started out with this like fantasy stuff. Like I said, it was ZP fantasy, and then my process, especially back then, was I would just make more and more stuff, basically to the point where I got completely burned out and like didn't finish it because it just happens. But I made the fantasy. I basically made a full stage of fantasy stuff, and then I made sort of an alien-inspired like horror. And then it's like I made that. Then I made one that was like a futuristic city, and then I made character, like ships to go along with each of those. And it was just just a combination of things, and because I just stuff I like mixed together. And for years there was basically no plot other than it just the only thing gluing it together were the mechanics and it's all shooting and collecting coins and all that stuff. But I think we did settle on a rough plot in that it's basically like these are all like creations of like some kind of like pulp author, and they'd like within their own worlds they had come to life, but they're like able to cross over into each other's world, and then at the end they actually confront creator. But yeah, that's basically all it is at this point. That's okay. I did actually want that to be vague because I like the idea that it was either like it was some kind of like Mucha-less, like it was some kind of sort of mecha, but it's an antique like armor, like which is just bizarre, or it's it's somehow it's like a robot. Just for the sake of giving someone else references, I like settled on that it's like sort of like a magical construct, like basically like a living suit of armor, and it's like controlled by this like young like wizard or like sorcerer who's presumably inside of it. But if I had my choice, it would be completely vague, like it would be not clear at all. But
so how do the upgrades work? Do you pick them up? Is there a shop maybe?
this actually was one of the last things I worked on, or just from my end, since I don't have my hands on the code, is I just make mock-ups in Game Maker, but I have to be careful that it actually pays mind to some of the limitations. But so there's like 3 or 4 power levels per character, and the shop, it's kind of like Lords of Thunder. It's a way to kind of get a heads up, so you can start out the next stage with like another power, like a higher power level. Like if you died and you want to come back swinging, you pay and then you get back to your full level or whatever. So that's basically how it works. Some of the intricacies of like the specific conditions of like when like power-ups will appear, that's kind of hazy at the moment, but it's like in terms of stage construction, that's fairly straightforward. It's just you like give them at regular intervals, and then maybe if it's a higher difficulty level, it's like 1 less or something, that sort of thing.
How many levels does the game have, and how long will it be?
Actual playing length I couldn't tell you because it's roughly 7. I think did we say 7 plus on the Kickstarter shit? You remember? Because it's like three like themes, so like future, fantasy, and alien, and it's like 2 for each, and then there's a final stage, and then like we might do more if there's time, because I've drawn a bunch of stuff, but whether that makes it in, I don't know, but it's roughly 7. I like the stages to be reasonably long, but that's all in how it comes together in the end, because that's
How many playable characters are there?
there's 3 player characters. there's another character that's similar to the knight. It's actually like a robot, but it's like a schoolgirl. But like she's in the old Game Maker version, but like we've sort of kicked around the idea of that being like a Kickstarter thing. Like so it was like
a special extra character, yeah, a stretch goal.
Yeah.
Will the game be difficult? Can we expect something on the level of Thunder Force 3, for example?
See, when I started all this stuff in Game Maker, everybody's like, man, these are like your games are so tough, and like I never really got it because, like I said, I really love trucks, and I love trucks in the arcade, and like those old Toy Plan games, they're tough. But what I like about them is that they're tough from the start. So it's like right off the bat they're pretty difficult, but they kind of stay at that level for a while. It just but you get the difficulty up front, but then it kind of sort of plateaus a bit, and then it might go back up later. Yeah, that's the kind of feedback I would get is like, if I let my friend play it, who's helped me with some other stuff that we've released to Steam, and that one in particular was too difficult for him. And he plays arcade games like one credit clears a bunch of stuff. So it's like it was a wake up call. Like, this is way too hard. So it's like. So difficulty is one of those weird things where it just comes, a lot of times it comes out of the circumstances of like making something, usually just playing it by yourself and not having a lot of input from other people. So it can happen that way, but like generally I don't want an extreme level of difficulty. I really don't, it's not something I value because I would actually like it to be a fairly even challenge, but it's just circumstances, and what's in there now, like in the early, the test versions, I think he based a lot of the stuff on what had been in my old Game Maker versions, and like those, like I said, it came from that point where it's like it's very difficult, and I really needed to just kind of back off a bit, which has been my approach that I've done, more game development, is just trying to like back off and trying to figure out like a better, just like a better like center point as far as difficulty goes. So ideally, I would put it more on. I would want it to be more like Thunder Force 3, where it's fairly easy starting out, but it's even.
When will ZPF be out? Do we have a release date?
Woo!
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, man. We could give estimates or whatever, but I mean, I already, as I've been apologizing to people in my YouTube comment threads and recently, I kind of jumped the gun a bit on my excitement about the Kickstarter coming out. And I mean, it is, I'll say, for anyone listening or whatever, I will say that effectively, we finished the Kickstarter page, and it's like friggin', yeah, it's pretty insane and amazing looking. I think it's a really fun experience in itself, even just for a friggin' Kickstarter page. We really tried to
and you did
match
most of it,
so. What's that? Oh, thanks, man.
And you,
I tried to take that burden off of Greiser and Michael, because their skills are just better spent doing what they do. And I've worked with marketing. I used to do marketing for a job and stuff like digital marketing and things like that. And I've made websites for people professionally, so I wanted to put some of those skills to use. So yeah, we made like a really fun, just different, immersive kind of thing to try to match some of the great, other like colleagues that we have out there, who their Kickstarter pages are beautiful and like a real craftsmanship went into that, and not just a cheesy kind of salesy thing. Like they really tried to make it like a storytelling experience or a graphically really exciting thing. You get to see something special, and so we have had that finished basically for a while, but due to working with Megacat, the publisher, and they're amazing. I'm not trying to say that they've stalled on anything, not at all. Just getting that agreement together, and overcoming all those little red tape things, getting it going, but making sure we agree on what we're doing and the scope of everything. and then they're going to help. They're going to be a tremendous like help to us, because we're not always like the best at getting the word out or whatever about, which I think has got to be pretty common, right, amongst developers.
And then there's the whole publishing thing and making cartridges and all that. That's
which is very more important than just getting the word out, is being able to actually make it happen. So, and they've got like tons of really exciting stuff that they've been working on literally as we speak, and for the past 2 months, I think. And so, as soon as they get done with a few things, we get, and Michael gets back, and his work schedule kind of steadies out a bit, and calms down, because he's been really hammered with his career, especially while through the pandemic and trying to work from home for a very complex job and everything. So, not trying to speak for him, just like I know he's been really busy. So we should know soon, I think, at least have a better date. I kind of screwed up and like got too excited about Kickstarter, and I was like, it's gonna be ready in 3 months, guys. The Kickstarter will be. Totally blew past that, and I felt like a huge jackass. So I'm trying not to do that anymore.
But basically, like earlier this year, he was wanting to get as much out of the performance out of the system as possible, because I think even with the tests we had, he was like noticing very slight decreases in speed, and he wants that like constant speed.
Yeah.
As much as he can get out. So he's been
deep diving on that.
Yeah, he's been trying to, just basically learning compiler, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like either he was originally working with compiler and in a more like, using a middleware kind of piece to help the development. Yeah, go ahead.
It was the SGDK, I think he was using. And then he was wanting to sort of go to compiler to, get a little more speed out of it. And it's
an intensive thing.
Yeah, it's just been he's been doing that, and he's been, dealing with his job. And so like a lot of stuff has just been it's been sitting on the shelf for a while. And the last things I've been making were was like fun things for like the end credits and just various little bits and bobs that I can actually build in my own like space, and then I can work out my kinks from there, because it's like whenever he gets back is when like a lot of the real work actually starts. So that's kind of why the release is a bit fuzzy.
Or the real work, we get back to the real work. It's not like obviously it's not like none has happened so far. Just like we got it to the place of the demo footage and a lot more. I mean, it's not like we showed everything in the demo, not even close. But yeah, like bigger picture stuff and polishing and getting it to a almost done place. That's the hard work we got to get back to. And he's been working, like he said, on that those deeper elements. And I really love that he's doing that, because I've always had I'm just weirdly picky. I have a high sensitivity for whatever reason to frame rate lag and just lag in general, and performance issues. And I think a lot of it came from learning like animation and video work, and also developing apps and websites and things. You're always aware of like the bloat caused by whatever WordPress, and the kind of systems that are supposed to make it easier to develop, but then it like makes the site load incredibly slow, or makes the app perform insanely slow on various devices. And you really want to see that fast, fluid, just give me the pure raw shit. And so I'm glad he's so focused on that.
Thank you both so much for coming. Are there any final words you'd like to leave everyone with?
For me, just everybody's been amazing. Everyone who's interested in this revival of Sega Genesis games and everything, and everyone's been super supportive and amazing, and just it means a lot to us. Keep it up, please, and thank you guys for caring.
We hope it doesn't take too long.
Yeah, be patient. Whether you've been patient so far, we really appreciate it.
If you want to know more about ZPF, well, there's no website yet. So I guess for now the best we can do is wait until the game is finally released. I for one am looking very forward to this game. Hey everyone, thank you for watching Stika's Retro Corner. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell and share this video. All that fun social media stuff. And you can also support me on Patreon. It may not seem like it, but even $1 is a really big help in keeping this channel going. I also want to thank my newest Patreon supporters, Jason Lee and Peter Laprade. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Bye!